Hi, I'm Krista Campbell. Welcome to the second webinar of our Business Continuity webinar series. Esri's electric, gas, water, and telecom teams are hosting these webinars to share COVID-19 resources and solutions that support business continuity. Today's webinar, Digitizing and Mobilizing Field Operations, will provide an overview of Esri field applications as well as several demonstrations. We will demonstrate how you can use Esri technology to optimize work routes, track work with easy-to-use apps, and share progress across your organization. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to watch again or to share with your colleagues. Please enter your questions in the questions dialog box. You can enter questions anytime during the webinar. We will answer questions at the end as time permits. Questions we do not get to will be answered in a Q&A document that will be sent to you along with the recording of the webinar. Joining the webinar today is Matt Piper, Director of Electric, Gas, Telecommunications, Water, and Architecture, Engineering, and Construction, as well as Saranya Kesavan and Vincent Fortino, both solution engineers supporting our industries. Today's agenda. Matt will begin with a discussion about digital transformation. Vince will demonstrate how to bring work orders into the ArcGIS platform and use analysis to optimize routing. He will also show you how you can make paper workflows digital. Saranya will demonstrate how digital workflows enable staff to receive work assignments remotely and to track their work progress throughout the day. In the last demonstration, Vince is going to share how dispatchers are able to track work completed as well as work in progress. You will see how digital workflows provide the data needed to create a real-time operational view. Let's get started, Matt.
Thank you, Krista. It is really exciting to be here again. In our first webinar, we had over 1,200 people dial in to gain an understanding of some of the freely available Esri COVID-19 resources. For today's webinar on digitizing and mobilizing your field workforce, we have over 1,800 registrations, which is fantastic. So to everyone who has joined, thank you and welcome. To get us started today, I'm just going to take a few minutes to share a few of my experiences and discuss digital transformation and the opportunities that exist for field operations. Many, if not all utilities by now, have established a digital roadmap. This plan is to try and keep pace with the rapid developments in technology and additional requirements as a result of changes in both customers' needs and industry regulations. This diagram I'm showing now represents a typical organizational experience when deploying projects that are aligned with their digital strategy. It begins with establishing the digital strategy, which aligns to an organization's values and goals. Then, based on business needs or an idea, we'll perhaps go to a proof of concept. Then, if successful, will be articulated into a business case, which also has many different approvals. On approvals, a project team is established, which may consist of numerous additional external hires. The project work begins and the solution is architected, built, and configured, followed by numerous change management and training activities, and then rigorous user testing and system regression testing to ensure all downstream integrations are maintained. And finally, we reach the point of go live. What is clear from this process is that the pathway to achieve digital transformation takes time, and there are many roadblocks that are placed along the way that can add additional time. And from my experience, what I have found in discussing this with many utilities around the world is that utilities have become accustomed to solving 12-month-old problems 2 years from now. And for this reason, many utilities have been very slow on moving forward with their digital roadmap, mainly because they believed they had time. But what happens if now you don't? If necessity is the mother of invention, coronavirus is the catalyst to digital transformation, with organizations around the globe fast-tracking to a digital business. For many utilities, the majority of their workforce is in the field, and the work they perform is critical and core to ensuring a safe network, meeting customers' service level agreements, and adhering to regulatory compliance. Work like performing asset inspections and maintenance, planned capital work for network augmentations and refurbishment and replacement programs, completing customer calls for connections and disconnections, and facilities management. All of this is ensuring that an effective field workforce is critical to maintaining your business continuity. When we think about field operation workflows, there are 5 key steps: schedule and dispatch, navigation, completion of work, system updates, and reporting and monitoring. For this workflow to be successful during a time of business continuity, information needs to be readily available and connected through each step. If this workflow is broken or bottlenecked due to legacy systems or paper-based processes, so is an organization's ability to maintain an effective business continuity plan. For utilities, field operations is optimized through digital workflows and technology. So what has changed with COVID-19, and how does this impact field operations? And almost more importantly, what can be done today? Because we are not afforded the time of following the previous mentioned digital strategy roadmap. We need to react today. Let's look at the first step in the workflow. If I work in schedule and dispatch, I have the following responsibilities. I need to ensure the safety of field crews, plan and schedule work plans, track work is getting completed on time, need to reduce the truck rolls and minimize customer disruptions. I need to manage the workforce hours and breaks. Let me take you through what I mean in a very simplified diagram. Here we have a typical central dispatch model. We have 2 crews working today, and both have made their way to the office to start their day. Crew 1 is blue, crew 2 is yellow, and there are 3 jobs that need to be completed. Crew 1 goes straight out to the job 2, then returns back to the office, while crew 2 heads to job 1, then goes on to job 3 before returning back to the office. Both crews began and ended their day at the office. The scheduler has done a good job in optimizing the route based on a known origin of the office. Crew 1 traveled 10 miles, crew 2 traveled 17. But let's now look at what has happened as part of the COVID-19 response. In this scenario, the office is no longer accessible. Both users are dispatching from their remote home, as you can see by the vehicles being parked at their respective houses. The same 3 jobs are shown that require work. In this scenario, based on dispatching from home, crew 2 goes out and completes job 1 before returning home. Crew 1 completes jobs 2 and 3. As you can see, the optimized planning of these jobs and what jobs were performed are very different from the first scenario. This time crew 1 performed 2 jobs and only traveled 8 miles, and crew 2 performed 1 job and traveled 7 miles. As you can see, this optimized planning from remote deployment can be very successful. For many utilities, the concept of having the ability to digitally plan, route, schedule, dispatch work would require a complete overhaul of many systems and many months of reintegration and testing to their existing systems. To demonstrate how to digitize the response to manage a remote workforce with capability that is available today, please welcome Vincent Fortino.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks everybody for joining us today. In the time of the pandemic, it is key for utility organizations to maintain business continuity through field operations. If you joined us last week, we walked through a solution that Esri developed to allow organizations to identify where their current staff are working from and maintain their safety. Here, we're going to start with a map that allows us to visualize via the personnel check-ins to see where they're working from their homes. As a dispatcher, I need to understand where my field workers are working, as well as where the work is in relation to them. Whether you're working in Excel, tracking work orders, or via an asset management system, we can bring that data directly into the ArcGIS platform and simply search our computer and click and drag that data to visualize it on a map. Now I can visualize my work orders paired with my personnel. I need to optimize the routes to identify which personnel are going to address which work orders. Through tools in the ArcGIS platform like the Plan Routes tool, I'm able to do just that. I can select the point layer representing stops, which is going to be my work orders. I can set the travel mode for the traveling, whether it be driving, trucking, or walking. I can set it to start at a centralized location, but in this case, in the COVID pandemic, we're going to start it at the personnel locations. We're going to set it so that our personnel can return home at the end of their navigation. And we can also identify the maximum number of vehicles to maintain social distancing practices that we're going to route. We can set in some other parameters like the maximum number of stops on the route, each route, the time spent at each stop based off of the type of work we're dispatching, as well as maintaining a regular 8-hour workday for our personnel. In just a few minutes after running the analysis, we have results returned, such as the routes, the stops, as well as the individual routes that each personnel has been identified to address. This analysis is key, and one of the key features is the ability to bring all of the work order data into those assigned stops. So as we select this assigned stop, we're able to identify the work order number, the type of work as a hydrant flush, and identify the charge code that the employee should be charging their time to. This is just the first process of digitization. The second is getting our paper portions of the workflow into the ArcGIS platform as well. Here at Mercator Water, for hydrant flushing purposes, we typically have this PDF form printed out and picked up on a daily basis by our personnel at the office. But because our personnel are not coming into the office, our depots, or our plants to pick up forms such as these, we need to get this into the ArcGIS platform to be filled out digitally, because this is typically filled out by hand. In just a matter of hours, we're able to quickly, through a web designer and Survey123 for ArcGIS, design that same hydrant flushing form that's allowed to be filled out digitally via a mobile device. We can maintain all of the same questions, autofill some questions such as the date and time, embed some photos to maintain safe operating procedures within the flushing, as well as all of the other selections, and even embedding photos. Once we pair this with the optimized routes, we need a way to assign that out to the personnel. We've identified which personnel are going to address which work orders. We need a way to communicate that with them. Workforce for ArcGIS solves that issue. We're able to utilize Workforce to make that communication instead of sending out a text, an email, or making a phone call. We can quickly search for an entire route and identify all of those stops along that route, select them all, and create assignments at each individual location. I can set an assignment type. For this, we're going to do hydrant flushing, but can be set to any type of assignment at any utility organization. You can scroll down, and we're prompted to fill out a couple other parameters, such as the assigned to field, which is going to be the employee we're assigning this work to. I'm just going to assign it to Saranya because I know that this is her personnel location, and she's going to show you the mobile side of things in just a few moments. You can quickly fill out the rest of the parameters like the priority, the due date and time. We need it done by the end of the day, which is typically 5 p.m. at Mercator Water. And we can quickly add in additional information. We can also add in some quick notes asking the employee to complete the hydrant flushing survey that we built in Survey123 at each hydrant and assignment location, as well as Mercator Water has implemented a close contact survey via Survey123 to allow our employees to maintain safe operating procedures in the case that they come in close contact with a customer. You can create these assignments, and in just a matter of moments, Saranya will be prompted and notified that she has a new set of assignments to complete. Throughout this process, we've brought our work orders into the ArcGIS platform, routed them in an optimized state, brought our paper forms into the platform, and designated them out to an individual employee. And with that, I'm going to send it back over to Matt.
Thanks, Vincent. Wow, that was excellent. Now, I'm going to take a couple of moments just to recap what you just saw, because there was a lot in that demonstration. First, using ArcGIS Online, Vincent was able to bring in the data of where his crew home origin was. Now, if you recall, this was able to be captured easily using the free downloadable business continuity templates we demonstrated in last week's webinar. Next, he imported all the planned work. This can either be integrated into an existing workforce management solution, or if you don't have one or want to move quickly, you can do this by simply dragging and dropping the work from an Excel spreadsheet onto the map. Then, using routing optimization, he prioritized the work and came up with a work schedule for all the crews working, and he took into consideration things like the daily hour limits and allocated breaks. Finally, this work was dispatched to the field using Workforce for ArcGIS. Now this was amazing. And remember, all of this was done with no customization, just out-of-the-box configurations. Let's now move on to the next step in the field operations workflow. This is navigation and the completion of work. These functions are performed by a field technician. Let's look at a simple diagram again. In this scenario, we are demonstrating a paper-based workflow, and it begins with the field crew receiving an assignment from the office to go to site to perform routine maintenance. The crew receives a paper-based job pack or folder and departs. There is no guided navigation. However, once arriving on site, the crew completes paper inspections, realizes some information is old, updates more paperwork, and then begins to head back to the office. On arriving back at the office, the paper forms are handed in with hopes they get updated. In addition, there was no tracking that was captured during this workflow. Now let's look at this same scenario in a digital navigation and work process as a result of COVID-19. In this scenario, the field worker is again originating from home, not the office. As he is unable to get these daily paper job packs delivered to him, he has to receive his work assignments digitally. Leaving from home, he received guided navigation as his work is spatially tagged. Once on site, he performs all the work digitally, receives information in real time, makes any updates necessary, and the data is immediately recorded back into the source systems. Once he arrives back home, he is able to see the full day's tracking. Now, I appreciate that these are very simple examples, but just these few examples alone can significantly reduce the lost time and improve your organization's business continuity.
Thank you, Vince and Matt. Our field workers have unique challenges to meet. One of them is to communicate their location to the team in back office. ArcGIS provides a solution for that with this tracker application. The field worker can set their normal work days and work hours, and this application will remind them to turn on and turn off their location services. So this ensures that they're not being tracked during their off hours. While this not only ensures the privacy and the accountability, it also ensures the safety of the workers because it relays the last known location of the worker for every 60 or 30 seconds, depending on the setting. The field worker can also upload their tracks if they have been asked from the field, from the back office, or they can view the tracks or the places that they've been to in the last 48 or 72 hours from this display directly. While this solves one problem, there's another challenge of logistics. I mean, I know the dispatcher has created the routes for me and the work orders and assigned some assignments for me. But how am I going to access that information? That's where the ArcGIS suite of apps comes in play. Let's begin the workflow with Navigator. So this Navigator will help me access the route that Vince has created for me. I can see that there are 10 stops in the route, and I can also get a detailed step-by-step overview to get to my assignment locations. I can also get a turn-by-turn guidance.
Starting navigation. Go west. Turn right on East Deal Road. In a quarter of a mile, turn left on North Washington Street.
As with any navigating application, it's going to give me an audio guidance to get to my first stop. For the time being, let's assume that I've arrived at my stop 1, and I'm going to mark it as visited. But what am I going to do in this first stop? That's where the Workforce app comes in play. Workforce helps me to coordinate the work orders that I have with the field office. These are the projects that I'm actively working on. And today I know that I'm working on the hydrant flushing project. So when I open it, I can see that there is an assignment waiting for me near my current location. As I tap on it, I can see the details of that assignment. Looks like Vince assigned it to me, and he asked me to complete a hydrant flushing survey, and also he asked me to complete a close contact survey if I've ever come in close proximity to one of our customers. Let's say that I'm ready to do the hydrant flushing. I'm going to indicate that to Vince by changing the status of the project. And you can see the symbology changing from gray dotted circle to a green dotted circle. And Vince also sees the status update of this assignment. Let's say that like I finished flushing that hydrant, and the next step is for me to fill out that form or the survey. I've been doing this survey in the past in a paper format, but now it is available to me. It's the same exact form, but it is in the digital form. Since it's in the digital format, like some of the information like the route ID, the date and time of flushing is automatically populated. I can fill in the other details like the hydrant ID and some other information here. I can also take a photo of the hydrant if that is needed, and I can annotate it. When I'm ready, I can send or save this survey in the outbox if I don't have any cell phone reception. And the survey app will handle submitting this application when I come back to an area with the reception. The next step that I need to do is, like go back to my assignment. And let's say that like I've come in close proximity to one of our customers. I can hit the URL to open up that new survey that I need to fill out. And I'm going to fill this one. I can search for the address. And give an approximate location of where that customer interaction happened. And I'm submitting that survey as well. As I'm ready, I can come back to my workforce project, and I did everything that has been asked of me to do. If I have to add any notes, I can do that right from the notes section within the assignment. If not, I can go ahead and finish the survey, which I'm going to do that now. And you can see that the symbology is turned from gray dotted circle to a bold green circle. I can go back to my Navigator app to continue proceed to my second assignment location and continue with my day-to-day task. With this, I'm going to pass over to Matt and Vince. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Saranya. I think we're just about reaching the capacity of what GoToWebinar can handle. But there's some really interesting examples shown. Now, Saranya just showed how she could receive the work in Workforce, then navigate with ease to the site. Then using Server 123, she was then able to complete the work and capture all the additional information using Server 123, while the whole time having Tracker running to provide monitoring and audit support. And all of this was done with no custom code, just simple configuration. The final two steps in the field operations workflow is updating systems and to report and monitor. During these uncertain times, when things are not operating as business as usual, it's more important than ever to be able to visualize and monitor what is occurring. We have shown several benefits of digitizing the field operation workflows, but possibly the greatest benefit comes from providing better understanding to how the work is tracking to plan and whether there is any additional risks. To demonstrate just some of the visualizations and results of utilizing the ArcGIS platform, I'm going to hand it over to Vincent Fortino again. Vincent, over to you.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks, Saranya, for showing the mobile side of things. Here, as a dispatcher, I'm able to track the progress of each assignment in Workforce. I can see, as I filter the status of each assignment, I'm able to filter by completed, the ones that are in progress, and even ones that are paused, maybe symbolizing that our field workers are on their lunch break. I can see that this assignment has been completed, and I can check in on that assignment and see where my employee is located in relationship to that assignment. You can see Saranya has now completed stop 2 of her route, and she is moving on and on track to meet the rest of the route stops accordingly for her day-to-day operations. Now, this is just to visualize the assignments. And maybe my organization or the higher-ups at my utility organization need to see much more. Through operations dashboards, we can configure an application that shows indicators, graphs, maps, and lists of everything that they would like to see. Here we have one configured to show the total open work orders at my utility organization. You can see that we have 99, but out of that 99, we've flushed 56 hydrants today, which symbolizes that 56 of them are hydrant flushing. I can see the work order distribution to see how many assignments are sent out to each individual employee, and the total team hours that are spent today in field operations. Now, let's just say that we want to do some sort of high-level analysis, and we want to see whether or not Saranya is being overworked right now because she is clearly assigned the most work orders. We can compare this to the total time working breakdown of each personnel and see that Saranya, even though she is assigned more work orders than each other employee, she is just about working the same amount of hours, completing those assignments in the same time needed. This allows us to make sure that Saranya is not overworked and we can maintain the way that we are doing business. On the other half of the dashboard, we're able to view our employee tracking. Saranya showed you Tracker for ArcGIS, and here we've embedded those into a map within a dashboard. We can see two individual employees' tracks, Saranya and Patrick, and we can see where they traveled today in their field operations. Now, this is great, but maybe we want to understand where they spent more time than not. Tracker can be utilized and visualized as heat maps. Now, at a high level, we can see that Patrick's heat map is a lot more lit up because it looks a lot more dense. It's a lot more less of a geographical area covered than Saranya's, where we see small pockets of light where we can understand and make assumptions that hopefully this is where our work orders are. We can quickly overlay our assigned stops and visualize and confirm that yes, these were expected because that's where Saranya spent more time because she was actually completing work. Lastly, we're able to visualize our employee routes compared to our COVID-19 well-being surveys. We can visualize the routes compared to these locations and quickly see that Saranya did have, in fact, today, a close contact with a customer. We can use the list to select and highlight and filter the map to see where that one is and see that this was filled out today and it was along her route. This way, we know whether or not we should take necessary precautions to maintain her safety, to maintain our field operation business continuity. And with that, I'm going to send it back over to Krista.
Thanks, Vince. The demonstrations today included a lot of information. Each of the applications listed here were used. You can find more information about these applications by visiting Esri's ArcGIS Apps website, esri.com/apps. To learn more about ArcGIS solutions and how to deploy them, please visit solutions.arcgis.com/#COVID-19. As you scroll down this webpage, you will see that there are solutions for many industries. There is a lot of great documentation included with each one of these solutions to help you get started. Okay, we are right at our 30-minute mark, so we don't have time for questions. As I mentioned earlier, though, we will answer any of the questions that were submitted. We'll provide them in a Q&A document that will be shared with you along with the webinar recording, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you for joining us today. Our next and last webinar in this series will take place next Tuesday, April 28th. Join us to learn how analytics turn data into insights. See you then. Have a great rest of your day.